Okay, so welcome everybody to episode 166 today of Level Up. 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions, of course, drive the show. Ella is working today over in the social chat, both on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So that brings a whole new meaning to multitasking, but she's in both channels. So do please introduce yourself to her. Let her know your name. And of course, the city from where you're joining, wherever you are in the world, a very warm welcome to you. Ella will post a link into the chat so that you can vote up the questions that you would most like answered. And of course, for you to be able to add your own. Now, if your question is selected, then your name is going to appear in the credits at the end of the show. So do get your questions in early and stay with us to see all of that happening. We continue to, as ever, to build out the production in our live events. And today is the third pilot test of our electronic hand raise. So you will see a little electronic hand popping up from each of the panelists from time to time. So watch out for that, as your favourite panelist is then going to be invited at some point to answer the question that they have elected to give you an answer to. All right. Now then, with the early adoption of artificial intelligence well underway, I would say, fear and some uncertainty as to the future roles of humans in organizations has been growing, and it's been debated not just in the professional community, but also in the mainstream media. Change managers, of course, play a critical role in the adoption of new technologies and in helping individuals, teams, and organizations embrace and adapt to that kind of change. But what sort of career do change managers really have? And how do you get started on that journey? That's really the theme of today's show. So helping us figure all of that out are a wonderful panel of experts. Let's jump in and meet them straight away. Bev Andrews rejoins us again today as ever. She is the director over at Aspire Change Management, based in Western Australia. And she has extensive experience working across the government and commercial sectors. Passionate, I think it's fair to say, around human-centric change. Bev develops high-performing teams through nurture and coaching. Welcome back to Level Up, Bev. Lovely to see you.
Thanks so much, Nick, and it's just wonderful to be here again. Hello, everyone.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Jackie Hewett rejoins us today. She's a senior PPM solutions consultant over at QA Limited here in the UK, where she focuses on helping corporate clients build their capability from across the entire PPM spectrum, really, not just business analysis or project management, but also change management is at the heart of it. She teaches with passion and commitment, helping each person achieve their level best. So welcome back to Level Up, Jackie. Lovely to see you again.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. More and more, I'm seeing a lot of bespoke work coming in around change rather than just straightforward project and program management. It really seems to be a hot topic now.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Sam Jurawan is director of the Change Managers Collective over at Criteo, where his practice, he specialises in cultural change and stakeholder engagement. From media across to logistics, his career spans multiple industries, and he champions change managers as the founder of the collective, whose goal, I think it is, to paraphrase, is to really raise awareness of the criticality and the need for the change management role formally within organisations. Welcome back to Level Up, Sam. Brilliant to see you.
Thank you very much, Nick. Yes, definitely a great topic about change management, topic I'm very passionate about, and looking forward to all the questions. That's great.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Bikram Routray rejoins today, again, a seasoned panelist. Bikram is an independent training consultant with a passion for professional education. His work takes him across industries and time zones with international assignments and experiencing a wide range of business cultures that he has worked in around the world. So welcome back to Level Up, Bikram. Great to have you on board.
Thank you, Nick. And as I promised last time, so I'm here for the second time in 2023. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much indeed. Mart Rovers joins us again today. He is, of course, the president over at INTERPROM, who both in the US and in Europe focus on leadership coaching, professional education and empowerment. Mart invests heavily in community, building centres of excellence and communities of practice, and always looking to elevate his client capabilities even further. Welcome back to Level Up, Mart. Great to have you on today's show.
Thanks so much, Nick. Thanks so much, APMG, for having me again. And thanks, everybody, for joining. And can't wait for answering these questions together with the esteemed panelists that we have amongst us. I want to start with a quote from Jack Welch, actually, to get the mindset going. He once said, "Change before you have to."
Okay, Jack Welch said an awful lot of stuff, didn't he? But that's a good one for today. Thank you very much indeed, Mart. We really do appreciate it. Our question master for today, of course, the show doesn't work without questions from the audience. And the person who manages all of that for us is Suchitra, who's joining us from the IT City. I think it's fair to rebrand Bengaluru as the IT City in India, in southern India, of course. How are you today, Suchitra?
Hi, Nick, and hello to the panelists and our viewers. I'm doing very well, thank you, and now looking forward to asking the questions.
All right. Okay. Well, I can see an eclectic audience have been joining us over the last few minutes. We're going to come to you on social once we've got underway. But Suchitra, I think we should jump in and take our first question for the panel.
Yes, of course. So our first question is from Kathy in Edinburgh. How do I get started as a change manager?
Okay, very good. Jackie, why don't you start us off and then we'll hear from Mart.
Yeah, there's no single route, I think is the first thing to say. Many different ways into this as a career. The way I got started, which I thought worked quite well, was I volunteered as a change agent or a change champion on a big cultural change initiative for a major insurer I worked for. That exposed me to a lot of the sort of skills that you need to work in change. So being a change agent, change champion, advocate, called many different things. But I think that's a really good start or a really good route.
I totally agree with you, Jackie. And I love the concept of volunteering within. We tend to sometimes think about volunteering as outside our current organisation, but actually there's loads of opportunities to volunteer inside your current employer and start to build that practical experience. Great answer to get the show going. Thank you so much, Jackie. Mart, let's hear your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Sam.
Could not agree more with volunteering. Another easy one would be to subscribe to some LinkedIn groups that specialize in change management, follow them, and see what they put out there, blogs, articles, and maybe read a good book.
Yeah, indeed. This borrowing, ideas and concepts and frameworks and so on from others and drawing upon their experience is so important in human-centric change because it's not just what you do. It's kind of how you do it that makes all of the difference. So really good advice there. Thank you so much indeed, Mart. Sam, your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Bev.
Yeah, so getting started as a change manager, it's often that it's a role that's not very well understood. I think it's still a role that companies are still picking up right now. I would say getting started in change management, you want to look at what surrounds the industry. So things like project management and business analysis are very closely linked together. They all kind of gel together, but the change manager is slightly different in terms of its focus is with people. So if you really wanted to start with change management, that's the career you want to go down, I would say to get closer to where that role sits within an organization, which is usually transformation, linking to project management, business analysis, and other areas like that. I think that would be a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't, whilst I agree with Mart in terms of, building your knowledge base, you need to get engaged. And, there's a point at which you need to kind of get on the field and play a part. However modest, that part might be initially in supporting a change initiative. So very good. Thank you so much, Sam. Bev, your final thoughts on this, please.
So I agree with my panelists. The other thing that you can do is join any local community. So actually start your networking groups locally. Understand what change management means in the context of the work and the organisation that you're in, because it does mean different things for different people. And there's a lot of complementary roles out there as well. So have a look at your skill sets and, can you move into a communications role within your organisation or a training role, analysis role, those types of positions where you might then have the opportunity to lean into change for your organisation.
Thank you very much indeed. All great answers to the question, how do you actually get started in the field of change management? Brilliant question, actually, to start the show. Let's jump over to the audience and see who's joining us from around the world. Jane has joined us from Nairobi in Kenya. Thank you very much indeed, Jane. Great to see you. And Areto is back with us again from Gabanga, I think, Gabanga in Liberia, which is in West Africa. Thank you, Arito. You know that my geography is not that great, so very kindly he's kind of pointed to whereabouts in the world his country actually is. So thank you so much. Lynn McAdam from Johannesburg, visited many times. So thank you very much indeed, Lynn. And Pinetown, I don't know that place actually in South Africa, so it doesn't spring to my mind, but really great to have you on board with us today. And the Ivory Coast as well. So thank you, Kolo, for joining. It's brilliant to have you online. I know that you were online on Friday as well. So thank you so much for joining and jumping into the conversation so readily. Okay, so we'll come back to social a little bit later on. In the meantime, I can see the questions are stacking up, Suchitra. So can we take our next question, please?
Yes, of course. And we have a live question from Nitin. What is change management and how does it fit into day-to-day processes of getting a product in the ground or developed?
All right. Okay. So the day-to-day process of getting a product kind of started up, developed and so on. What kind of a role does change management play in that? Mart, why don't you start us off and then we're going to hear from Sam next.
I'll focus on the first 4 words. What is change management? And then we can elaborate on what's next. I always refer to it as organizational change or people change. It's about changing behaviors and attitudes and mindsets. That's how I would, in a short way, explain change management.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Mark. So that's got us off to 1/3 of the question, kind of up and running already. So that's really good. Sam, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Bev.
Okay, so as Mark takes in the first part, I'll take the next part of the question then. So fitting into your day-to-day process and how to get a product off the ground, I think change management, one of the first key things that change managers do is creating vision and creating a sense of urgency. As in, I think that's always very, very key. It's often missed out when it comes to change. But if you think about a product or something new that you want to embed within a team or an organization, if you don't have that vision of how that's going to support their objectives, where they want to go, or it's going to support a future vision, it doesn't ever catch enough wind and momentum for that change to really have any benefits realization. So I think change managers' first protocol, even for products, is all about vision and creating urgency for change.
Yeah, indeed. And there's the challenge, isn't there, always, to be able to keep pace with the product development, because in the early ideation stages, you don't know all of the answers. By definition, they are yet to be discovered along the project lifecycle. So it's a really good point to kind of get engaged early and to work at the pace, of the product development team. Bev, your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Bikram.
So just adding on to that, yes, it's about communication and our stakeholders, our people, and the vision, but it's also making sure that you've got alignment into understanding what the niche is that your product's going to fill. And therefore, from a business perspective, the investment and the return on investment that you're looking for not everybody's going to be as engaged in the soft and fluffy we do. So what is the actual business outcome that they're expecting? So what's that story and the tangible benefits that you need to weave into it as well?
It's really quite an interesting dimension to change management, isn't it? How much we surface as a change management professional that we're able then to offer to others, to bake into that return on investment, that view of the organisational outcome, if you like, refines kind of over time. So thank you very much indeed. Bikram, your thoughts, and then we'll go to Jackie.
Thank you, Nick. Yes, when you say change management from point A to point B, that is also with the products when we are moving in. We always connect with our product teams who are developing it, plus showing the bigger picture with the business. What will be the future would look like, be it starting with an kind of opportunity framing a document in the beginning when we start with the product in itself, till the time we go live and stabilize certain things. So we always take care through the change management. That will be my take on this question, Nick.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much indeed, Bikram. Jackie, final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm going to be fairly short and sweet, and it's a quote that I often use when I'm teaching change, just to position what change is. Project management prepares a solution for the business. Change management prepares the business for the solution. So it's all about the people and getting the people to accept it and use it. So too often we create a thing, we chuck it over the fence and hope it's going to get used. This is that end piece, making sure it gets used.
Excellent. Thank you so much indeed. I have used that many times over. Jackie mentioned that phrase to me some years ago now, actually. And I have to say, I reuse it time and time again because it really does stick in my mind. So do make a note of that one. Social team, you might want to share that little quote again from Jackie with the audience. Talking of which, let's jump over there and just make sure that we've covered everybody off. Lynn, great to have you online. And Orlando, who's joining from Liberia. Brilliant to have you in the audience today, and you're already active in the chat, so thank you for doing that indeed. Mohamedou, brilliant to have you online also from Cameroon. We have quite a following actually in Cameroon, so brilliant to have you as part of our audience today, so thank you very much for joining. And I can't quite see, just bear with me for a moment. There we are, Sulia. I do apologise, Sulia. My menu was covering up your name, which wasn't that helpful, was it? From Lagos in Nigeria as well. She joins us today, so thank you very much. And Mohammed is joining us once again from Afghanistan. Mohammed's a regular viewer, actually, so I do hope that, we're being of good assistance to you in you thinking about your career and your career development and so on. So brilliant. Thanks very much indeed, everybody who's out in the audience today. If you want to put your question to the panel, just type it into the chat and Ella will collect it from there and bring it into the system that the panel can see. Talking about that, Suchitra, let's move on. We'll take our next question, please.
Sure. Another live question from Lumka. I am a PMO lead in my organization, and I would like to understand where change management sits. Does it sit as a part of PMO or people and culture in HR?
All right, very good. So, Bev, start us off, and then we'll hear from Jackie.
Well, my first response to that is if you're looking at bringing change management into the organisation as a function, I'd grab it in whatever is the most advocate for change and is going to be a fantastic sponsor. But in seriousness, it really depends. The HR field and the project management field can be quite different. So it really does depend on how the organisation operates and how it's actually really visualises change. If you're doing a lot of project-based change, then I would build your CMO in there because then you can actually align a lot of your frameworks and your tools to project delivery and then build on your change management across the organisation. However, if you have a very strong sponsor within your people and culture who really understands all the elements of what change management is, so it's not just any people and culture elements, it's organisation, it's project delivery, it's business change, then I would put it in there as an enterprise change management function.
Interesting. Some really, really good and practical advice. I think that comes from working with real organisations, kind of in real time. You sort of say, well, it depends. If you've got this, then work with that, and very much make the best of how your organisation is configured and the talent that you have within it. So thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Jackie, your thoughts, please, and then we'll hear from Mart.
Yeah, I think this is quite an interesting and there's quite a lot to this question, actually. I mean, there are PMOs and PMOs. So I think the first thing that we kind of need to understand is what kind of a PMO. And maybe I'll assume that it's a portfolio management office rather than a project or a program. And of course, managing a portfolio, your role, a big part of that is to prioritize which initiatives we're going to run with now, which maybe we don't do. So it's really central. I think assuming it's a portfolio management office you're talking about. So it really positions change and what's going to line up with our corporate strategies, what our priorities are. And then coming on to the second part about people and culture, it depends on the type of the change. If it's a really radical big change and we're talking about organizational design, restructuring, you need to get your HR involved early because, you may have negotiations with trade unions and things like that to do. But not every change is going to need that. So not every change will require your HR department, for example. It just depends on the nature of change.
It's certainly true, isn't it? The scope and scale of work that we're engaged in can make a big difference. And also sometimes the period of time in which you have to complete it. So sometimes cadence, can come into your thinking about how you manage this kind of thing. So thank you, Jackie. Some great advice there for people out in the field. Mart, your thoughts, please, and then we'll go on to Sam.
My take on this question might be slightly different, but the way I took it was that, where do I need change management? I'd say everywhere. Anyone involved, in these areas needs to have some change management expertise or built a change management capability. So first off, it would be good. I mean, you can't have enough people that are experts in this area, but then it needs to spread throughout the organization. In other words, we all deal with changes. Change is a constant, and it's not something that just a happy few need to know about. It's something that we all need to know about.
I think you're right, Mart. For a long time, an early mature or an immature organisation may feel that they've ticked the box for change management by having somebody called the change manager or a role called the change manager on a given project or a programme. But in reality, organisations' maturity comes over time when you have a lot of people understanding, at least at a fundamental level, what is involved in organizational change and working together with those things in mind, because it elevates everybody's performance ultimately. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. Sam, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Bikram.
Yeah, I think there's always a question where does change management really sit, as in it's quite a diverse role, which can sit quite nicely within a PMO. Like personally, right now, I do sit within a PMO as a change manager, and it works quite well transversally across the business because you are able to adapt to different departments and kind of take on different projects which are cross-functional. So it does sit well there because you have that neutral standpoint. But I've also worked as a change manager in very selective teams where you either are an operational change manager, you could be a financial change manager. So it really depends on the need of the organization. And often change managers will sit in this people and cultural side of things because, again, they do lead a lot of people-focused project, and change management is a people-focused directive. So I would just say that most companies will go with a change management team sitting first of all within a PMO because it is the most transversal across the business. And then when they start to realize that change management has a lot of benefits, they will start to explore change managers sitting with other parts of the business as well to have that specialized knowledge to kind of push that much further.
It's certainly true that a knowledge and understanding and experience in a functional discipline can really help you nail organizational change, and can bring a certain something to bear to the challenges that you face within that function, particularly if you're in a highly regulated environment. That brings its own level of expertise to bear. So some great thoughts there. Thank you so much, Sam. Bikram, your thoughts, please, and then we'll go to Bev.
I can't agree more, Nick, than what the panelist has already spoken about this. But what Mart particularly said, it is everywhere, right? So I would say from PMO, just make it as a CMO, and that will solve your problem. Mark it as a change management office, and you are there everywhere within the change activities.
Bikram, I can hear half the world go, ooh, that kind of point. So, I think certainly, the diversity and the skills and the inclusiveness and the knowledge base that you have within any flavour of project programme or portfolio management office is a fantastic resource to tap into, isn't it? Why would you work without that? Everybody should be working with that and really building through that. But there's also as well, I think the thought there of that hidden curriculum coming through. So whether it's implied, implicit, or whether it's explicit through a name change, get change at the heart of the process. Absolutely agree with you there. Bev, final thoughts on this before we move on?
Thank you. I was just going to follow up from something that Sam said that I thought was really important to point out for people. If you haven't had a change manager in your organisation before, or if there's a little bit of nervousness about it, then actually having a change manager or a change lead come in alongside one of your bigger projects is a really good starting point, so that you can actually sort of test and learn. And projects are usually budgeted in a very different way, so it's an easier way in, because if it doesn't work, there's an easier way out as well. But it does give you that opportunity to use something that is important to the organisation in a very contained way if they're wanting to try something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much indeed. And I think as well, if we link this question, and thank you, by the way, Lunika, or Lunka, sorry, I can't quite read the name, for highlighting this question for us, because, where you start from is very, very important, and how things are perceived. So build that alliance, if you like, across the organization, from the functional specialists all of the way through to those who have a dedicated role, like the team within HR or like the team within the PMO itself. Really great to be joined by some colleagues from Australia, Canberra, of course, in the Capital Territories. Lovely to have you online. And Adedeo as well, Emmanuel there, joining from Adedeo in Nigeria. Great to have you. Adara is a regular viewer. She rejoins us again, actually, from Nigeria. And Marlene is online as well. And thank you so much for the local welcome. I'm pleased that you're still talking to us, even though the cricket between our two countries is not going in quite my country's favour just at the moment, Marlene, but we won't fall out, my friend. Zamri joined us from Malaysia, so thank you so much for joining from Southeast Asia, a very beautiful part of the world, and visited many times myself. So thank you so much, Zamri. Okay, Suchitra, I can see we've got lots of questions, so we really do need to pick up the pace. Let's take our next question, please.
Thank you. Yes, we indeed have a lot of questions, and this one is from Arito Sumo. How do I engage all of my stakeholders, especially those with high interest and high authority?
Engaging stakeholders as part of change, the key element to success. Jackie, you've had a lot of experience in this. Start us off.
Gosh, there are so many things you can say to this. So there's really almost two parts here: engaging all, and then the high interest and high power or high authority. Firstly, if you are doing a power interest influence matrix or something like that, that infers that you are trying to understand all of your stakeholders. You're trying to plot them and find the most important ones. And that's a great start to identifying who they are. Obviously, sort of conversations, networking, tracing back, talk to stakeholders, who are their stakeholders, and all of that sort of good stuff. But how, for the high interest and high influence or high authority, we're probably talking about individuals here rather than groups. Yeah. So these are going to be your key people, and you're going to be engaging with those as individuals, face to face, that kind of stuff. If they've got that much authority, that much power, you've got to take them really seriously, make sure they're on side, listen to their concerns, and as I say, work with them as individuals rather than sort of, thinking about the whole piece of everyone. And I'll leave stuff for other people to say, because you could talk about this all day. Or I could.
It's certainly true, and it's a key part actually, and often a way in to become visible as a potential future change star, if you like, as a change beacon for others to be able to work with you. If you get involved in stakeholder engagement, because it's a key part of every project lifecycle, no matter which approach or method that you're using. Sam, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, stakeholder engagement is like the bread and butter for change management. As in, it's always difficult to really tell, because everyone is a very different person, and there's not really one answer that fits all. But I like to boil things down to something that we use in communication as well, which is what's in it for you. And you try and replicate that to thinking about your stakeholders as well. So whenever you have a stakeholder with high interest or high authority that you really need to influence and get them on board as quickly as possible, and you think that you have minimal time with them, straight away think about what is in it for them if they were to engage within your stakeholder, your change management plan. So as in, start to tell them about benefits of how, the change will bring their benefits that they want in terms of, metrics or productivity or whatever they really want to aim for. And I think if you circle the conversation to saying, if they invest in change management, this is what they'll get out of it, you might find that your key stakeholders are more on board with your changes.
Good point. Thank you very much indeed, Sam. Jackie, further thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit more. It's very easy to go to your fallback communication, isn't it? This is back to the sort of the how piece of this question. We all have our preferred ways of communicating, but to properly engage with your stakeholders, you've got to put yourself in their shoes and try and understand how they want to receive their communication. Yeah. So it's not about what's easiest for you, but what are they going to be most receptive to? And obviously, when we're thinking about all sort of stakeholders, getting that feedback, testing the water, making sure your messages are getting through to them. So making sure you're using the right channels, but equally don't try and use too many channels. We all get swamped with communication. There can be just too much. You do need to use sort of different modalities, different ways, but be a little bit careful, but think about the stakeholders. How do they get their news, if you like?
Absolutely right. Think about that audience and how they consume communication information. Very, very important. Mart, final thoughts on this, and then we'll move on.
Just quickly to build on what Henry Ford once told us, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. In other words, if you don't change, somebody else will change for you or on behalf of you, and before you know, it becomes less relevant, sometimes irrelevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed, Mart. Thank you, Arito. One practical thought for you is to build a communication plan. I often sketch this out as more like a Venn diagram, really, to begin with. Think about your different communities. How can you kind of link together communities of people, of stakeholders, and see where those intersection points actually are? That can give you a great visualization of what your comms plan actually needs to be. And then consider adopting people into that communication planning, which is so closely linked with change from each of those communities, so that you can get, real and authentic, if I can use those words, with each of the stakeholder communities. All right, so very good. Thank you very much indeed, Arito, for asking us that. It's a key part of the early change career for everybody, is writing the comms pieces, and getting that correct is quite a tricky thing. That's often why the more junior members of the team are asked to do it, because the more senior members actually find it quite tricky. So there we are. It's normal life, isn't it, at work? Okay, very good. Let's move on. Suchitra, we'll take our next question.
Our next question is from Charlotte. How do I gain experience to be a change manager? What experience is suitable for my CV, personal and professional?
Wow, so it's quite an open, it's 3 questions in one. So Charlotte's packed 3 questions inside of each other here. Let's jumble up the sequencing a little bit. Bev, why don't you start us off, and then we'll hear from Jackie.
Wow, that is a big worded question, isn't it? So really it comes down to marrying your skill sets against the type of role that you're going for. So to get experience as a change manager, we've already given some insights about how you can do that. The key competencies for change management involve very much around your analytical skills, being able to communicate, engage. There's some amazing work done through some of the different associations that will be able to give you some ideas as well. And by tailoring what you know and what the work might look like in your area, enables you then to be able to adjust your CV to reflect those skills. But you're looking for all your transferable skills. You're looking for your business outcomes. You're looking for, how you actually have engaged others, how you can train others, how you work alongside others as well, how you problem solve. That would be my first starting point, because it's such a broad question.
Yeah, absolutely. But some great advice there. So thank you very much indeed for that, Bev. Jackie, your thoughts, and then we'll go to Sam.
There's so much to say here. Of course, change management is all about the people. I go back to my first answer I gave, being a change agent, change champion, something like that. That's a really good starting point. Educate yourself. Yeah, so join things like the Change Management Institute. Take one of the change management qualifications. Obviously, that's a very good thing to have on your CV. Networking. People, facilitation, so a workshop facilitator, those kind of things, they're very important skills. There's just so much. So I won't steal everybody's thunder, because everybody else is queuing up to say things, but there are many things you can do.
Absolutely. Sam, your thoughts, particularly from the, kind of personal, professional CV point of view. You want some evidence, I guess, build some evidence.
Yeah, definitely. As in, it's often that as a change manager, there's not as many roles out there, I would say, and not a lot of people will start their career in change management, and they usually stumble upon it eventually. I think the experience that will help you get into change management is linked to project management. It's linked to business analysis, PMO. It's linked to all of those different areas that kind of surround change and transformation. I think that experience will really help you if you wanted to become a change manager. And so if you have that on your CV, it's really good. And again, qualifications are definitely the other way to go about it as well. So you have APMG's qualification, which is a great one. I definitely recommend, where you can learn a lot of the foundations, good, solid foundations for change management that's utilized across nearly every business. So I think if you have a collection of both of those, you'd stand a very good chance of getting the attention of change management recruiters.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks so much, Sam. Mart, your thoughts, and then Bikram.
I would say find a coach or look for a role model that you can work with, and then gain experience in that way. And then capture all your learning moments and write about it. I think once you start writing about it, then you truly have to think through, as in, what is it that I need to be a change manager? What does it take? And of course, that's always a nice one to put on your resume, or your blog.
Yeah, most definitely so. It's such a key thing as well to make these little notes, all right, punctuate your career, because when you look back over the last year, can you really remember in any great detail. I would struggle to. Life moves at such a pace. So when things happen, make a note of them, include them in your professional social media, talk about, suitably anonymized and that kind of thing, but do talk about those moments of truth, that you have working on projects where you discover, the talent that you have and the way in which you approached a key challenge and then overcame it. It's a really good way to build that social profile, if you like, professionally, throughout your life, rather than just at the point of changing employer. Bikram, final thoughts on this, please.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll cite my example, Nick. I started as an operations manager long time back, but when I retrospectively look back, then I do see myself as a change manager. As a role, it was operations manager, but the day-to-day activities, what I was doing then, it was all about the change activities. As somebody mentioned, you could be a change agent, you could be with a different namesake for that matter. But at the end of the day, you might be doing your change management activities. And how do you put it into your CV? How do you justify it? That is equally important. And many of us has already spoken about the qualification side of it. Yes, APMG's qualification, that gives a very strong foundation. Plus, people have come back to me and they have said they have utilized those tools, techniques that has been prescribed in this certification. That is a very good one to put into your CV. And yes, with the personal and professional one, we can have those connects. As I said earlier, I am a very good advocate of CMO, Change Management Office for that matter. If you can establish it within your organization, that would be helpful. Otherwise, just look for these professional links that you can have for these connects.
Yeah, there's a golden thread here, I think, between all of this around, building your experience up, being recognized for that in your organization. And to Bikram's point, establish a community of practice, a change management office, get people working together, meeting together. It doesn't have to be high frequency, but if there's that regular professional development happening, behind the scenes, then people start to get recognized and invited actually to contribute because they are recognized for it. And other colleagues around the business start to see you as a go-to person for helping them to figure out, how it is that they might be able to do something. So it's very, very worthwhile doing those things. And there's some fantastic advice online around building communities of practice within your own organization and making sure that you make them as accessible and inclusive and as diverse as is possible or practical for you. All right, very good. Thank you very much indeed. Over on social, you can see the huge range of countries that we have represented today. Paco, thank you so much for joining from Botswana. And we've got people from pretty much now, I think, every continent. So if your continent has not been represented yet, jump into the chat and introduce yourselves and tell us from whereabouts in the world you're joining from. Tonya joins from the other end of the Thames Valley from where I live, up in London itself. So thank you for joining us today, Tonya. Really great to have you as part of the audience. And some lovely comments, actually, that you've added to the debate online as well. I've been reading in the chat just on the screen off to my right a little bit. So thank you for adding value into the conversation today. Suchitra, let's press on. We'll take our next question, please.
Our next question is one from Lynn, who's asked us live. How do we engage our change managers from the beginning of a solution build without them losing interest before they're involved in the business transitions?
How soon is too soon? Now, usually the cry from the change management profession is we need to be involved earlier. Mart, is there a risk of kind of just boring them to tears when there's nothing practical for them to do right at the very beginning? Start off our thinking, and then we'll hear from Bikram next.
That's an interesting one. So you're going to lose your change management halfway through, as in that's. I thought they were there for the long haul, but if that's the case, maybe you don't have enough change managers. You can never have enough. So let's start there, and then how to engage. I mean, they should be engaged throughout, from the very beginning, making sure all the right stakeholders are involved, and of course, till the very end, to make sure these stakeholders are taken care of. So, you don't want to lose them. You want to keep them engaged too.
Yeah, absolutely. Bikram, your thoughts? Then we'll hear from Jackie.
I like that, Nick. How soon is very soon, right? So engage them from the beginning itself. And that's what even I always say. Make sure that even if the change is failing, fail safely. That should be our motto in case it goes in the negative direction. But engage them throughout, but start it as early as you can. You do have your, what we call it as the CNE, change and engagement managers from the beginning itself.
I love that. Fail safely. Might come back to that in a few minutes, Bikram, if I may. Jackie, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Sam.
Yeah, historically, all too often, I think, change was an afterthought. And we would only think about that bit when we were close to finishing the solution and, all right, better think about this rollout piece. And we're all focused on, delivering the thing. I've been doing some work with a client and it's really interesting. They got their change management side of things, stakeholder impact assessments done really, really early. They were rolling out a huge company, I won't name them, but rolling out a significant upgrade of their desktop. And because they got involved early and they worked out it was going to take 4 hours per person to do this migration, with the help from change management, that actually influenced the project plan. So it was really critical that they did that change management piece up front. And when the change managers and when the business managers appreciate the impact it's going to have on their business, you don't lose them. They know it's going to have quite a critical impact on their operational areas, and they're with you. And they want to, in my experience, they want to be with you from the get-go to know what's coming down the line. But yeah, timing is so important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jackie. Sam, final thoughts?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. I've been a change manager for many years, and I'll be very honest. At the beginning, when I first started as a change manager, if I was involved very early in a transition, I wouldn't understand exactly why I was there, because my focus was building that plan for the end state of change and the transition period. So I actually understand where this question is coming from in terms of a change manager losing interest before they're really involved. But I think as you kind of go on in your career as a change manager, you start to realize how much you can take from being involved in those early conversations around what that new solution is going to look like and that new build is going to look like, because that will influence what your plan or how you transition that to the business. So I think if you're struggling with change managers' engagement in terms of getting them involved in the early business, maybe just reflect if they are new to the industry, if they're not, and maybe point out areas that you need support and help with that the change manager can deliver, and they should stay engaged throughout the whole process if they have something to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. If you think of the change manager as the batter on a baseball field, of course, you have to walk up to the plate at the right time to be able to hit the ball out of the park. But it's a good idea to really watch the bowler, really watch the pitcher time after time after time. So thorough preparation makes for really great execution. We've got time, I think, if we move at pace, to fit 2 more questions in. Suchitra, next question, please.
Our next question is from Nick. How important is the role of change managers in organizations wishing to adopt artificial intelligence?
Now, I asked this question, panel, just because it's one that's been on our audience's minds quite a lot recently. Mart, your thoughts on this, and then we'll hear from Jackie.
I think their role has a lot to do with taking away some of the fears that people still have around this new thing, although it is not that new. So how it will help them in their job, in their daily activities, and not so much is going to be in their way. So I think a lot of awareness needs to happen, and I think that's where change managers can be of value.
Thank you so much indeed. Jackie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll certainly sort of second or echo that. Very well said. But it's going to be a huge change for how we work, and change managers often at the right time get HR involved, and we're talking about really changing role design here. And I think that's going to be quite a critical piece. And, as you say, allaying some of the fears about what this going to do for my job. Will I have a job? Critical.
Yeah, absolutely right. And preparing the way for this kind of thing, I think, is really where we should be as a change management community, really thinking it through, and also thinking about how do we build better humans. Now, I'm going to coin that phrase, build a better human, all right, over the next few months, because human beings can do things that machines cannot do, and we do them brilliantly, but we need coaching in how to do it brilliantly, all right? You're not born brilliant, right? You learn how to be brilliant. You may have talent, but you need to turn that aptitude into experience and be able to repeatably coach and enable other people. So building better humans, I would say, is the key role for the change management profession. There's our challenge, if you like, for the next few years. All right, very good. Suchitra, final question for today, please, if we can.
And our last question is from Simon. Would becoming a member of the Change Management Institute help me develop my career in change?
All right, now, Simon, I think the clue to the answer to this question is already built into the question. From my point of view, I would thoroughly recommend becoming a member of the professional body for change management. The CMI, based in Australia, has been a leading light, I have to say, worldwide in building communities of practice, building effective change managers around the world. So I would thoroughly recommend it. Mart, your thoughts on this, and then we'll hear from Jackie.
It's always helpful to become a member of these organizations that represent a certain specialty, mainly to not only have access to the body of knowledge, but also to connect with people who knows in your area you can meet face to face with, but definitely online. So connect from a connecting point of view, absolutely. Connect with your peers.
Thank you very much indeed, Mart. Let's go to Jackie next, and then Sam.
Yeah, a lot of change management is about networking. Being a member, I'm a member, and you could get to go to some excellent networking events. And I went to one at the Birkbeck University fairly recently. And if you've got an area that you are interested in and would like some research done in, you can sometimes bring that to the Change Management Institute and get areas that you're interested in fed into sort of research papers and work that universities are doing. It's invaluable.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. Final thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, definitely. Change Management Institute, hugely popular, and it's so well known around the community. I definitely recommend becoming a member. It will give you a lot of good insights. I think just be curious, because there's in change management, if you have as many perspectives as possible, because there are so many different ways to kind of slice up the cake of change management. The more you have is the more tools you'll have in your arsenal. So Change Management Institute is one, but there's definitely more out there that you can get involved with too.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much to the panel. Today was an amazing episode, actually, with an incredible collection of thoughts and ideas. And also, I would really rather recommend that you review the whole episode again later on today and just follow the chat kind of through in its entirety. Okay. That would be a really good thing to do. Now, we do have a couple of technical problems which are challenging the connection through to Bev in Australia at the moment, but we are working through that. But Mart, while we are working with Bev to try and restore her connection, would you like to give us your closing remarks on today's episode, and then we'll hear from Sam next?
More than happy to, Nick. I think, great questions. And I think, again, it was an information-packed episode. So thank you for the great questions, everyone, and as well as the answers. How about this one from Socrates, who said, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but building the new.
Building the new, don't fight the old. And so much of our lives, in work and outside of work, actually, Socrates has a lot of really good advice for. So I would certainly take that to heart. Thank you very much indeed, Mart, for your contribution today. Sam, final thoughts, and then we'll go to Bikram.
Yeah, brilliant. I don't have any inspirational quotes as Mart does, unfortunately, but I will say great panel, fantastic questions as well. It's great to see that change management is looked at by so many now, and is catching a lot more attention. And my final thoughts and advice is just keep pushing and keep looking into change management, because you will discover some real hidden gems that will help you no matter where you sit within a business or what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Bikram, your closing remarks for today, and then we'll hear from Jackie.
Excellent questions, I would say. Yes, I do have one inspirational quote, and that is from you, Nick: build the better human. So that is something I'll be looking forward to when we are planning with the AI side of it when it is live. Yeah. So looking forward to it in the future.
It almost sounds a little bit like it's not at all like Dr. Jekyll, by the way. It's not his idea. It's not that idea. It's about how do we. Well, anyway, we'll get on to that. It's a whole show by itself, I think. Jackie, your thoughts on today's episode, please.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time to be involved in change. More and more, I'm seeing an emphasis in this space. I don't know if the rest of the panel are. The APM conference a couple of weeks ago, the topic was change. And I don't know if anybody's read or aware that Forbes magazine in 2021 wrote an article that basically cited change management as being the most important leadership skill. There are so many opportunities in this space.
Thank you so much. Now, a couple of things for you. First of all, on behalf of Bev, I just want to say, that she apologises. It's nothing to do with where she is. It's just a major dropout in the internet between us and her location. So we apologise for that. We'll get Bev back on into another event soon with us. And the other thing that I want to point you to as well, actually, is a really good series of blogs which are curated by Jackie's organisation, by QA Limited here in the UK. TD, I don't know if we've got a QR code for them, but do have a look over on the QA website. It's in their About Us section, and it's entitled, I think, Under the Banning of Our Thinking. And it's a series of blogs, and there's some really great insight written from Jackie on how to begin your career in change management and how to develop yourself as a change agent and a whole variety of other topics like that. So we'll get that link out into the social chat momentarily for the team who are online. Suchitra, your closing remarks on today's episode, please.
It's been an amazing episode, Nick, and thank you to the panelists. Of course, we've had some amazing viewers as well and sent in a lot of questions. We'll surely pick up the remaining questions in another episode. So thank you for tuning in.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much indeed. And a huge shout out to our viewers online. It's been quite incredible today. I do apologise. At one stage, we were a little overwhelmed. All right, we couldn't quite keep up with the speed of the conversation that was actually happening over in the chat. But from wherever you joined us from around the world, from Australia through Southeast Asia, from Europe, from East Africa and West Africa, from the top of the Scandinavian countries right down to almost not quite the most southerly point on the African continent, but we were pretty close, actually. So thank you very much indeed. And also to our colleagues over in the US who will be picking this up a little bit later on my time today and Monday morning for them when it arrives. Thank you very much indeed. Now then, thank you again to our panel on behalf of everybody. And let's just remind ourselves that over on the APMG website, you can search for the answers to all of the questions that have been raised in the 166 episodes of Level Up so far. It's an amazing resource to be able to jump into. You can just type in a question and see which experts have answered it. So really great resource for you to use. And of course, you can listen to the audio versions of all of the shows on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for APMG International, Level Up Your Career, and you will find us. Coming up later on this week at Friday, the 7th of July, 2 p.m. UK time, we're going to be looking at building careers in service management before exploring quite why big data is so important on the 10th of July at 8 a.m. UK time. Now, July the 17th is going to be quite interesting because we're going to be talking about building the perfect project team, it looks like, although I actually had a different title on our website at the moment around that. But whatever the topic is going to be, it's going to be fast and furious, as today's has been. If you want a reminder, then as the graphic suggests, head over to our YouTube channel, hit that like, please, and subscribe. And the little bell, if you tick that, then it's going to send you an alert when we go live and some reminders and that kind of thing. So it's a super useful thing to do. It doesn't cost you anything, only takes a moment, and it means a great deal to all of us. Subscribe to the show, and we'll send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you too can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG International. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time.